Hi, my name is Julio. I'm an reporter, and we're here at the site of the World Trade Center in Lower Manhattan. As you can see, there's some construction going on. The new World Trade Center tower is going up at the end of this area. That building there, the glass building, is the new 7 World Trade Center, which is actually 7 World Trade was the last building that fell that day. And I also want to point out this building here, that was the old One Bankers Trust Plaza building. It used to be a lot higher than that. It was a building that was contaminated and a lot of body parts were found in there. And that's where they had the fire several years ago that killed 2 firemen. I worked in that building for about 5 years. It used to be connected to the World Trade. I remember this when the World Trade was here as a very vibrant neighborhood, especially during lunch hour, because everybody would go out, and it was like the Plaza of the World Trade was actually bigger than St. Mark's Piazza in Venice. It was like city. It was like a whole city where thousands of people used to work and used to live every day.
How's the progress going?
It's been pretty slow. I mean, later on we can take a look at where the new One World Trade, what they used to call the Freedom Tower is going up. It's only, I believe, like 10, 12 stories high, so it has a long way to go. It's been picking up lately. They started building this part here is going to be the new transportation hub for the subways and path and stuff. So all of a sudden, like the past couple of months, it's picking up a little bit, but it's been slow. It's almost 9 years, and it was slow to come. One thing that I always find amazing when I come down here, and I use this bike trail, I bike a lot down here, is that when the buildings were here and the Vista Hotel was here, it used to look a lot bigger. I mean, you look at this empty space now, and it's hard to imagine that those huge buildings and the whole complex and that huge square was there, because it doesn't really give you the impression visually of how immense it was.
It looks pretty big to me.
Yeah, but I mean, I remember the having to walk. It was a whole city. I mean, the underground, the connecting to the PATH trains, and you look at it and it looks compact. That's the new One World Trade Center. The building behind it that I mentioned before, that's the new 7 World Trade that was finished a couple of years ago. And this cranes here, that's the new transportation hub. There's also some construction being done, I think, on the memorial, which is going to honor the people who died that day. And behind that building there, in that corner, that's a spot, one of those buildings there that used to house a clothing store. That's where they're supposedly planning to open and build a 13-story Muslim center and mosque. That building almost fell. I mean, there was a huge chunk of the corner there that was destroyed, and so was the Winter Garden, which is a glass enclosed garden in the World Financial Center. Now, that building there, that used to be called One Bankers Trust, and I worked in that building several years, and that's the one that I mentioned was connected to the World Trade by a bridge.
Where were you when 9/11 happened?
I was, at that time I was working on 53rd Street and Madison Avenue, and I remember that morning I was leaving the gym, going to work, and all I remember was the sirens. Just wondering why so many sirens were going on. When I got to the office, was the first time I saw on TV, one of the towers was on fire. And when I went downstairs, looking down from Madison Avenue and 53rd Street, you could see the plume of smoke. And after the towers fell, we were let go that day, and I had to walk home down to 16th Street. And one of the things I'll never forget is halfway down, going to my house, I started seeing people walking up from the World Trade Center area, men in their suits completely covered with ash and dirt, their faces completely covered. I mean, that's something that I really will never forget. I remember when I got to work and all my co-workers were looking at the TV, there was this huge hole in the southern tower, and I remember thinking, I mean, now you think back, it's so innocent, like, oh my God, they're gonna have to put the towers down, because how are they gonna fix that? It looks like, you know, and then you start wondering how many people, I mean, I really thought there would have been like, you know, 10, 15,000 people dead, because I mean, when you think back and look at how big it was, it's like so many people worked out there. You know, it's really amazing. And then I started thinking of my best friend who works for the city, and his office was down here. And I remember everybody in the office trying to reach either families or friends. Nobody knew where anybody was. The cell phones, kind of like the signals died. It was very difficult. You think back on it, and it seems like it was a couple of days ago. You never really get over it as much as you try. But I mean, it's really amazing how the city actually was able to move forward to a point where, you know, we think back on it, but you know, we still bike around here and live.
Why do you think it's taking so long for it to be built?
Well, I know that it was a lot of politics. It was something to do with the developer and the city, but I mean, at least the memorial, there should have been a permanent memorial done years ago. There used to be one back here in Battery Park, behind Battery Park City, and you know, they took it down because it created like traffic problems and stuff like that. But at least the memorial should have been finalized years ago. And really, it was a moment that changed everything. I work in travel, and for one, the travel industry completely changed. I mean, even all these years later, it's not what it used to be, and it never will be. I mean, just go to an airport and you'll see the difference. Even go to a foreign country and you'll see the difference. So yeah, it was a moment that defined history and changed everything. At the PATH station, we're actually down in the pit of the World Trade because the PATH trains are still running, and this is what connects New Jersey to downtown Manhattan. We're actually right inside the old pit. And there's construction going on, I guess 24/7, because it's late on a Friday night and they're working.